Hey guys, how's it going? And happy Friday. I hope you all are doing good. And I really do hope you're all doing good. And we need to keep all of our spirits up in what has otherwise been a very sad week, very tragic week. Not only is it the anniversary just yesterday of 9/11. Do you guys remember that? A lot changed in this country after that, didn't it? The Patriot Act, loss of freedom like we've not seen in a long time. We live under the information state, the surveillance state, more than we ever had before after 9/11. Now, that would be sad just to think about that, but something else happened. Charlie Kirk, one of the most influential people on the right, on the conservative side of things, especially when it comes to the younger demographic. College kids, younger people, and older people too. People of all ages, really. Went to college campuses a lot to debate with people, to try to change minds about many issues. Many issues, but at the end of the day, it's always the same issue. Isn't that right? It always has been, currently is, and always will be. It's a battle of good versus evil. And, I wasn't friends with Charlie Kirk. Never met him. Probably never would have. He's pretty big deal, pretty famous guy. I'm just a small town landscaper. But I've been aware for a while, and I'm especially becoming aware just in the last couple days what a big deal he was in so many people's lives. And as he was there on a college campus, ironically or not so ironically, depending how you want to look at it, just starting to engage in discourse or a little debate, if you will, on gun control, specifically with these transmissions and the shootings. Single shot rings out, 30-06 from an old Mauser. Now look, they're trying to ban guns because of his death. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit, because they say, well, you don't need an AR-15. You don't need a semi-automatic. You don't need a clip-azine. You don't need all of this rhetoric. And it's all rhetoric. Well, this was an old school 5-round bolt action. Let me tell you what, the 30-06 is lethal, obviously. Very dangerous. It's a cartridge of war. I guess it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, does it? If it's in an old Woodstock, and if it's something that Grandpa might use to hunt, or that the greatest generation used in World War II, no. None of that matters, because none of it's ever mattered. It's always been about one of the core fundamentals of human existence. Evil people do evil things. And good people, while they're never perfect, and I do believe Charlie Kirk was a good person, good people just try to make the world a little bit better, as good as they can for the next people, don't they? And that's what Charlie Kirk was doing, to try to inspire a lot of young people to try to make the United States, and quite frankly, the whole world, a better place. His organization had reach throughout much of the world, actually. He talked about his Christian faith, and he wasn't ashamed of that. And for that, that's actually what I respected about him the most. It's a shame, and it's sad, and it sucks that an evil person, he shot him in the neck with a 30-06. Died very swiftly, obviously. Nobody could survive that. Well, they took his body from this earth. And I pray to God they didn't take his movement away, though. And I believe a bullet can't take somebody's soul. So I'm trying to look at it on the optimistic side. we still have to struggle here on earth, and we need to struggle and we need to fight for what's right and what's good and for this republic. But now he gets to be home with his father, you know? So while you should be sad to a point. I get it, because it's sad on the surface, but is it really though? It's actually a time to rejoice, because Charlie Kirk had a devout Christian faith. And it certainly appeared, with me not being him or anybody else as judge, obviously, that he was not only washed in the water, but in the blood of Christ. And to be able to sit at the right hand of God, it's actually something to think about and to smile about. So, but God bless his family and his wife, who's not so old herself, young lady, his 2 children, little children. It's completely devastating to them, obviously. It's a terrible, terrible thing that happened, and we need to keep reminding people this is a terrible thing. And no matter how much it keeps smacking us in the face so many times, we just need to constantly be aware that there is evil among us. There's terrible, terrible, deranged people among us. I do believe the devil's roaming the earth. He can't take your soul, but he can sure tempt you. I believe there's demons that corrupt and all of these things. And these people on the left, they need to cut their bullcrap out. This is serious. A husband, a father of 2 young children, and somebody who is not only a mentor, but a motivator for so many people in this country and the world, was murdered, politically assassinated, actually. And what do we learn from this? Well, we just really need to remind ourselves of stuff we already should have known. It's a battle of good versus evil. And that we need to keep up the fight. We need to keep up the good fight. And we still need to fight like hell to make sure the United States never becomes a communist country, although it has tons of socialism mixed in already, in all aspects, actually. And these radical leftists are to the left of Stalin and Lenin in many cases. But I would hope that none of y'all are afraid to talk about your beliefs after this. And I would hope that you're not afraid to still spread the good word and talk about what's right. And that the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, it shall not be infringed. Just remember, the left's calling for all kinds of gun control now because of this tragedy. And it is a tragedy. It sucks. But they never, ever, ever let a good tragedy go to waste, do they? They're calling for gun control like crazy. But yet again, time and time again, we need to remind ourselves that these laws only affect the law-abiding, and criminals don't follow laws. Now, did you know that on that college campus in Utah, did you know it was already illegal to carry a long gun? Did you know that? They have a suspect in custody. We'll say alleged right now. They say he's the one. They say he did it, but there's a suspect in custody. Wasn't really worried about that law, was he? Did you also know it's against the law to murder somebody? I mean, that's one of the oldest laws you can think about. This goes back to Moses. This goes back to the 10 Commandments. It's literally always been against the law in any recorded civilization and society, at least any civilized society. There are societies of cannibals, but You know what I mean by that. In any actual civilization, it's always been against the law to murder. Well, that law didn't stop him either now, did it? Well, we know the left's going to call for more gun control, and they are. Like, obviously. I hope the right doesn't get on board, per se, whatever that even means anymore. This right-left paradigm, this gang warfare. It's blue, it's red, it's versus. Dude, I'm completely disenchanted with the mainstream political parties, actually. We'll see what happens. I hope not. But I wouldn't be surprised if we don't start seeing Republicans even wanting to go along with some gun control or calling for it outright. I mean, we've seen it in the state of Michigan. The current Speaker of the House, when he was minority leader, voted for gun control to provide political cover for the 4 or 5 other Republican reps that wanted to vote for it. And they did, and it passed. And now we have these so-called safe storage laws in Michigan. Oh, really? Making it safer for who? The law-abiding citizen? Because remember, these only affect the law-abiding. Don't ever forget that. Criminals don't follow laws. And when guns are outlawed, then only outlaws will own guns, right? While you're fumbling around with your safe, your combination, your whatever. Think about this. You're in a sleep in the middle of your house, your castle. You're supposed to be the king of your castle. And the government needs to get the hell out of your house, period, in all regards. That's real simple for me. End of story. Get off my lawn, government. Bad guy come on my lawn? It ain't going to go so well. You know what I mean? That's the American way. But you're laying there asleep at night in your bed, and you hear the glass break and someone coming in the house. And you know that when seconds matter, police are only minutes away. And you know that. And that's why you carry a gun. But if you're a law-abiding citizen and there's kids in the home or could be a kid in the home or various reasons, you're following the law and your gun's locked up. While the criminal who doesn't follow laws, obviously, he just broke in your home. He's cocked, locked, and ready to rock. Look, hope's like a positive word, and I hate to try to sound positive about something so negative, but my hope is this. That it'll once again, with Charlie Kirk's tragedy, wake people up and open their eyes and say, dude, these bad people kill good people. It really literally happens. He was like super famous, and they did it in a big public display. But there's bad people that would want to come in your house and kill you, and don't forget that. When you're out and about in public, they would love nothing more. Maybe it's to rob you. Maybe it's to do unthinkable bad things to you. Maybe it's just because of what you're wearing. Or because maybe they saw you on the internet saying something conservative. Maybe you're wearing your Trump hat. Whatever it is, there's lots of evil people that would want you dead. These people are violent. And while you're fumbling with your lock in your own house, this is Michigan law now that Republicans voted for as well. So that's why I'm saying it's my hope that none of these Republicans in the state of Michigan and in the United States Congress and in all of these other states, they better do what they campaigned on and stand strong for the Second Amendment, but I'm not so sure. Because we have these laws in Michigan that are aimed to make the law-abiding citizen sitting ducks. And that's not okay. And gun control has never, ever worked. Cities like Chicago, where they have some of the strictest gun control in the whole country, is like a war zone. So I want to talk about the topic at hand in the title tonight. I guess the first question I should have asked, but I don't think I even needed to, is should you carry a gun at all? And in my opinion, yes. Period. Stream's over. We don't need to say anything else. But the stream's not actually over. So good to see you all tonight. But more specifically, assuming you should carry, and I think you not only should, but you ought to, should you carry it open or concealed? And why or why not? Or maybe a combination thereof. Now, I'm going to bring up some things specifically in Michigan, but I want you guys that are all on the chat live now, and shout out to the replay crew who watches this throughout the week. Some of your answers are going to vary based on what state you live in and what state laws are. And we're going to definitely talk about what we always talk about here, that all gun control laws are completely and utterly unconstitutional. And I don't accept the premise philosophically of having to even acknowledge they exist. However, when it comes to people, and I did have a viewer reach out and ask me a question about it. And I'm actually going to go through some of our back and forth discourse that we did via Facebook Messenger in a few minutes. And unfortunately, we find ourselves in the shape we're in. Look, we live in a country that says the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And that's the second time the United States Constitution was amended. Now, in the United States of America, we have a Constitution. And it says so in and of itself that it's the supreme law of the land, which means it would be impossible to have even one gun control law in a country called the United States of America, since the supreme law of the land says shall not be infringed. And yes, I agree. Then it comes down to, well, here we are with over 26,000 gun control laws on multiple levels, state level, sometimes local level, federal level in this country. And then you get in a situation where the rubber meets the road. And do you want to be in jail? Do you not want to be in jail? Do you make your last stand like, you're in Braveheart, or is it like Custer's last stand where he ended up and all of his men ended up just getting slaughtered? I don't know. There's all kinds of things for you to think about, but at the end of the day, and it sucks, and I reject the premise that you even have to think about in which manner you may want to carry or not, but we live under a tyrannical government, and this is what tyranny looks like. Or instead of you just simply deciding the best way to protect yourself and your family, you actually have to balance the realities of things. And it's actually like a real straightforward topic to a point. But when you really dig into and think about it, it's actually a kind of a deep topic, really. Now, for anyone that believes you shouldn't carry a gun, hang out with us, I guess. But you're really not in very good company, because people around here believe, yeah, you're going to carry a gun, not only because it's your right, because it's your duty to protect yourself and your family, your community, and if it becomes necessary, your country. That's what the Declaration of Independence is all about. And that's what the founding of this country is all about, which was literally founded on the imminent threat of gun control. It was literally started Lexington, Concord Bridge, out of the barrel of a gun. So it's not just that, like, oh, you can have guns in America. America is guns and always has been. So assuming that you do believe in your right to keep and bear arms, and you do agree with equipping yourself with the proper tools, let's think about the ways that you may carry, and why you may want to do a bit of both, or all one or all the other, actually. So we're going to get into all that in just 1 minute. But before we do, I want to thank all of you for the many ways you help support the channel. Thank you to my channel members, who I see a bunch of in the chat right here. Nice to see you guys. Thank you to my Patreon supporters as well as my supporters on Locals. Now, Locals is a different site, censorship free, where we do bonus live streams there. We have a really good time. We show guns and do all kinds of stuff there. We just can't do on the old, what do you call it, Mike McClune? What's up, Mike? I see him in the chat. Long-time friend of the channel. The old lube tube. I think people call it that. Look, they call it many things, let's face it, but we're going to keep this a family-friendly channel the best we can. We're pissed off tonight about many things, but we're going to keep this very family-friendly. You know what I mean? But Make sure you check out my locals community. I post tons of awesome deals there, as well as on X. Check out 2AEDU on X, where we post multitudes of things. And if I get any super chats tonight, I'll definitely read those. There's no ad read at the beginning of this stream. You guys are the sponsors. And there are some links down in the description of ways to help out the channel as well, and as well as Cash App. And thank you to those of you who do donate that way as well. One quick announcement. I'm going to share my screen here. I'm going to be at an event, a Second Amendment event tomorrow. Now, I'm just going to go to the 2AEDU channel here, and there's a tab called Posts. You can see the flyer there. I am one of the speakers. There is going to be, gosh, a couple dozen people there. So you can check out. It's from noon to 7. The address is there. You can scan the QR code. I shared the event itself over on Facebook. So go to 2AEDU on Facebook, because that's where they created the event digitally, whatever. And I shared it there. Even though they censor like crazy over there, I post events like this because they usually create it and share it. And there's going to be people from Michigan in general. Some, I guess you call them influencers. There's going to be state reps. I see a state senator, a United States congressman. And I was looking at the agenda, actually, and it appears by the schedule, I'm actually going to be opening up for speaking directly before a United States congressman. So not too much pressure on me, but, you know, there's like, you know, they start and then the speakers keep going up the schedule, and I'm looking for my name. Now, I'm going to be on a panel a little bit earlier in the day with a group of us. And I'm like, okay, state senator, state rep. You know, this guy has a radio show, that guy does. And then I'm like, where am I? And then it's finally like state rep, 2AEDU, United States congressman. So I will be out there talking about the Second Amendment. So I hope to see some of you there. It's in a small town called Fowlerville, Michigan. It's east of Lansing and a bit west of Howell, that type of location. So let me know if I will see any of you there. What's up, Jane? How's it going? Oh, you're going to be at it too. Awesome. Well, I definitely look forward to seeing you, Jane. Dude, Jane, I'm so glad to see you there because, like, dude, I'm not high profile at all. Like Charlie Kirk and, you know, other people, but I am glad you're going to be there, Jane. And I hope you will, like, be close to that stage when I'm up there. Because Jane, if you guys don't know this about Jane, first of all, she's my friend, right? And a lot of you guys have hung out with Jane. She's cool as heck. She's also pretty experienced at security too. So since we're friends, I might be able to have a... No, I'm not joking. Dale knows all about it. What's happening, Dale? I look forward to seeing you and your lovely wife, Cheryl, tomorrow too. So yeah, cool. Let me know if anybody else is coming because I want to see you guys. And, you know, you got Jane locked by you carrying a gun. Your chances are better than if she wasn't there. You know what I mean? So that'll be pretty cool. All right. Concealed carry versus open carry. Oh my gosh, man, what a topic. It sounds so fundamental. And I'm sure back in the day, everybody's done different, you know, videos on this topic, but it's kind of like been a while, hasn't it? And here's the thing too. There is no such thing, in my opinion, as just one rule that prevails for all time. And if we haven't talked about this topic in, let's say, 5-6 years, let's just throw that number out there. A lot's changed in 5 or 6 years. Like a lot, actually. Like in some ways, look, nothing ever changes. Like the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun. It's always these core principles of good versus evil. We the people always trying to fend off a tyrannical government. So the more things change, actually, the more they stay the same with the overarching principles. But when it comes to just kind of the way things are on a day-to-day basis, dude, a lot's changed in the last few years. Just like the way it logistically is to kind of like go around town. I mean, we literally saw an animal. Let's just call it what it is. We saw an animal on that train in North Carolina. I mean, that was brutal. Look, if you didn't see the video of that, you don't want to see it. I caught like just a little glimpse of it. I wish I didn't see. That girl, the young lady, 23 years old, beautiful Beautiful blonde, pale-skinned, white young lady. Got done working at the pizza place. And this animal, subhuman. You know, sometimes people say, this person, this suspect taken into custody. No, no, no. We're nice on this channel. Sometimes people are like, 2AE to you. Look, dude, I like you, but you're just too nice. No, no, no. We're nice, but we're not that nice. No. Subgrade entity. Filth. Animal. Just reaches right from behind her in the seat. Right in the throat. What's up with these? They go right for the throat now. Charlie Kirk, 30-6 to the throat. Right to the neck. Didn't have a chance. This young lady had survived the Ukraine war. No, I'm serious. Higher death toll of any war since like World War II. They estimate this because neither country really wants to let the real numbers out. Left a war zone. Artillery, bombs, drones, guns, all over the place. She leaves and survives a war zone. Comes to the United States. To the south. North Carolina. Gets on a little city train, a little mass transit, right? And this animal with a knife right to the throat. She didn't have a chance. There's that picture. She's just like, what happened? Looking up. I mean, you don't want to see it, but if you see it, it's just like, oh. You guys know what I'm talking about, don't you? You know, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, it shall not be infringed. That's fine and great, but we used to just take the one part for granted, but we have to actually think about it now. The right of the people. Who are the people? No. That there had been arrested, many of them for violent crimes, 14 times. Let go, cashless bail, no bail, get out of jail. From what I recall reading, armed robbery, many, many other things, violence upon violence. No, no, no. That's not part of the people. Those people can't be among us. There's got to be some kind of punishment for these judges that just let them skip. Just, oh, you're terrorizing people, threatening them. Look, these people are violent. They're rude. We need to have a civilized society again in this country. I don't know how or when that's going to happen, but unless until it does, you have to carry a gun to protect yourself. See, here's the problem. Everyone's been brainwashed to be so milquetoast about this. Oh, it's just another person. It's just another. No, no, no. There's entities out there that don't deserve the grade of being considered part of the people. Some of these people are so evil and so twisted. They need to face justice. You don't just say, oh, this one's so violent, we'll let him out for the 12th time, or in this case, the 14th time, so we can slit this beautiful young white girl's throat like that. Kidding me? I guess that goes to show you, doesn't it? The government's not going to save you. For all the people that were brainwashed their whole life, well, that's why I live in America and pay so much taxes, because the government will save me. Yeah. Until they won't. Until they don't. And then, of course, at the end of the day, there's audio now from the tape, and you guys can look all this up. But he says, I got a white girl, or something along those lines. Of course. Well. You guys can look at my X post and see what I think about that. I'm going with the old Kung Flu propaganda. Do you guys remember that? That's what I'm going with. It's called Be Smart and Stay Apart. All right? Like Dr. Fauci used to say. When it comes to these topics, like what happened on that train, be smart and stay apart. Now, when that's not enough and they hunt you down, you need to be ready to defend yourself. I'll tell you what, man, you can't really use your bare hands too well in a knife fight, can you? Everyone on that train just sat there and watched that young lady get stabbed. But like essentially she was stabbed and she was already dead, slashed. The neck, the throat. You know, this reminds me of something real quick, and then we'll move on to the topic of how you carry a gun. Things to think about. Shout out to all my Marine Corps friends out there. Current active duty Marines, veterans. Now, I would say former Marines, but I wouldn't dare. I've known a few too many of you guys. First of all, Marines are nice guys. They can be your best friend, but oh boy. You know that whole saying, your best friend or your worst enemy? We won't say former Marine. I'm familiar. Once a Marine, always a Marine. All the Marines out there, leather necks. No, just think about this. We've talked about this before. Tell me about the leather neck, boys. Why do they call you all leather necks to this day? And why did you put leather around your necks back in the day? Now, this is actually germane to all of this. Think about this. Marine Corps, this is like right at the founding of this country. Now, Marine Corps has been disbanded a couple times, actually, but you were out protecting merchant ships from certain types of people. Who were those people and why do they call Marines leathernecks? Throw it out there in the chat and you guys discuss this amongst yourselves, because here we are in the year 2025. With Kirk, they shoot the neck with this young white blonde girl. Slash. It's the throat. It's the neck. Now, once my Marine friends chime in and talk about the reasons why that they call Marines leathernecks, you're going to see what I'm talking about here. America literally started off having to defend itself against savage, evil people. This goes back to something I said earlier, because as much as things kind of change, because they really do in our day-to-day life, but really, though, the more they change, the more they stay the same. Now we find ourselves in the year 2025, and they're still going for the neck. Let's think about that for 2 seconds. What's happening, man? How's it going, Rob? I was just shouting out the event tomorrow. Here's the host of 2A Days that I just talked about a few minutes ago. So you not only get to see me, but you'll get to say hi to my good friend Rob tomorrow. Make sure you go over to the YouTube, the 2A Edu YouTube page where it says post. It used to be called community for years. Now it's called post. And we will be able to have a good time tomorrow. Okay, Harry says Marines wore leather so they could protect from knives. There we go. Any of my Marine Corps friends in here real quick? Bill Alexander, stop saber slashes when boarding a ship. Yep. Yeah. There you go, horsepower. The Barbary Pirates. Pirates. Think about this for a minute. Pirates. When they board the ships, they slash. They were cutters, and they always went for the neck. So the very early Marines wore the leather around their neck so they could withstand a slash or two and then go in with the rest of their training or weaponry that they were possessing and take out the pirate. Yep. Jalapeno pepper was to protect against the Muslim beheadings. There you go. Here we are in the year 2025. They're shooting the neck. They're slashing the neck. Now, the whole concept of how you should carry. Well, first of all, it could be one or the other or both, actually. There you go. That's the real quick answer, actually. Should you carry open? Should you carry concealed? Now, a lot of people are going to jump right away to saying, dude, you should always carry concealed no matter what. I disagree, actually. Now, hold on. I do not disagree with concealed carrying. However, I'm trying to be very nuanced in the way I word this. I disagree with the notion that you always should carry concealed no matter what. And here's why. 2 general reasons for it. Now, let's assume you're not a police officer. I just said shout out to all my Marine friends and all of my veteran and active duty friends, by the way. But in this scenario, we're pretending we're civilians right now. Okay. We're not talking about a policeman that carries a gun belt in the line of work. Now, if you're an off-duty policeman, yeah, we're talking about you now. But we're not talking about the policeman that's on duty, the sheriff's deputy. We're not talking about the active duty Army infantryman that's in the sandbox right now, trading rounds back and forth. We're not talking about that. These are totally different things. We're talking about as a civilian in the United States. And one more time, this is going to vary a lot state by state on just different decisions you're going to have to make, even though we're all supposed to live under shall not be infringed. But no, I don't agree that you should always concealed carry no matter what. And here's why. The first part of it, the Second Amendment does not grant us the right to keep and bear arms. Okay? No. It's a pre-existing right. These are the laws of nature and of nature's God. And this is part of those certain unalienable rights that are endowed by our Creator. That's what Thomas Jefferson said and what all of the signers of the Declaration of Independence agreed to. So to have to get a concealed carry permit, which I know there's lots of so-called constitutional carry state viewers out there, but there's lots of you in states like Michigan and many others that don't have that. Now, again, I don't agree with any of these laws, but we have to think about these when it comes to just how you actually live your life. Do you have time and money to go to jail? Don't you? Will you get caught? Won't you? There's all these things to think about. So I do reject the premise that you should ever have to pay for a permit. I think the concealed pistol license, the CCW, the CWP, whatever it's called where you may live, I completely and utterly, philosophically, and from my core, fundamentally reject the premise, and I hate it. However, I get people asking me all the time, like they kind of understand that I already hate the fact that you should need a CPL to conceal. Okay. But then they ask me more point blank questions like, well, this sucks and I hate it, but yet here we are. So what's the pros and cons? What would you recommend? And there's a lot to think about. And I hate that I should even have to think about this. I hate that there should even have to be a channel called 2AEDU, because when the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed, it's supposed to be so off limits that we shouldn't even have to talk about it. We shouldn't have to have 2A activists. But yet we do need to talk about it because, again, yet here we are. So with that said, people have to make a very personal choice. And in some cases, people say, no, I just will not bend the knee and I will not get a concealed carry permit. Now, some people will make that choice and they'll just conceal carry, breaking the law, technically committing a felony, and they're willing to take the chance whether they get caught or not. They may be very safe about themselves, where in their mind, they are certain they're not going to get caught. Now, look, I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not advocating for anybody to commit crimes on this channel. I'm just telling you, I know for a fact there's people like this. Now, don't forget, when it comes to the criminal element, the gangbangers, the extreme people that are literally just out there wanting to shed blood like a slaughterhouse all day, these less than civilized people, okay, that aren't even people in many cases. Like when it comes to whatever that was on the train with that young Ukrainian girl, I'm not going to say person. That's just, I don't even know what that was. Now, God will decide if it's a person or not. I'm not the judge of its soul, but I'll tell you what, I can't say person when I looked at it. When I looked at it, I saw something that I wouldn't call person. But with that said, these criminals, they just do whatever the heck they want. The only people actually getting to enjoy any liberty at all in this country are these type. Isn't that ironic? Just think about that for a minute. The only people that have like the most taste of what America was supposed to be are these like perpetual criminals. Now you might think I'm nuts when I'm saying that, but just think about it, guys. Let me know what you think about that. Those people actually get the Second Amendment, don't they? I'll just do whatever the hell I want. We'll just kill each other all day, all night, go around whatever in the streets. Just, you know the type I'm talking about. But then there's a lot of other people out there where you're like, look, dude, from my cold dead hands shall not be infringed, but I can't really go to prison right now. I have a roof to keep over my family's head. I mean, these are tough philosophical questions. Do you go along with a tyrannical law, a law that's completely unconstitutional, so you can try to make the world a better place and do what you can just to survive? I mean, look, you're taxed to no end. You got to work your butt off just to barely make ends meet. You want to enjoy time with your beautiful wife, your beautiful daughter. For my lady viewers out there, your handsome husband, your kids, you know what I'm saying, right? Or if you're not married, just whoever, people that you love, you know what I'm saying? Look, there's going to be some people out there that's the hill they want to die on. They will go to prison the rest of their life because they will not bend the knee and buy a concealed carry permit. Now, in some states, it's a misdemeanor. I just saw my friend. Where's he at in there? Red, what's happening, dude? How you doing, man? I mean, dude, it's things to think about. You know, I ain't going to give you no advice on that, nothing like that. You don't need my advice. You'll think about it. You're a grown man. It's a misdemeanor in his state. Huh? It's a felony in the state of Michigan and many other states. So, you guys can tell how this topic is for me. We shouldn't even have to talk about this. I'm so frustrated. But at the end of the day, it is an important discussion because there's people that are like, dude, like, I'm super pro Second Amendment, but I can't really be going to prison right now. And look, I don't even know if that does make you a good American. As much as your gut kind of wants to tell you, and maybe if you were just typing it on the internet, you would blurt out. I don't see anyone necessarily saying this, but you know, maybe certain people on the internet would just blurt out, I'll go to prison and stand on my head for 30 years before I'll comply with one gun control law. Okay. You know, I mean, there is some respect to that, actually. There really is. But like, is it a good American to do that? And then like, you know, your kids are like living in squalor and starving on the streets, and your wife's out there with something that looks like the one that took care of that girl on the train. Like, they're out there running a train in the dark alley while you're in prison. You guys know what I mean. I'm trying to keep this very family friendly. But no, when you really think about all this, the tax man, the government gets to come and repossess your house and take it and sell it at public auction, and you worked your whole life. And by the way, how are you going to spread the Second Amendment message if you're in prison? So it's just not that simple, unfortunately, just to instantly say, I just don't comply with any laws no matter what, and I'm just going to go to prison within seconds. Especially when, you know, here's the thing. You try to make yourself a political martyr, like, oh, I'll go to prison and there'll be this big uprising and following. No, there won't. No, there won't. You'll go to prison. They'll shame your family's name. People will shame your wife, your kids. They'll do a lot more than that to your wife. But you know what I'm saying? Your ex-wife by then. Look. And then everyone else will just go along and go ba-doop, ba-doop, ba-doop. And then they'll get on the internet and some will say hard-ass things and some will whatever. That's the way it actually ends up working in real life. You know, McVeigh got all pissed off. He was real pissed off. How's him and his beautiful family that he has now? Oh, wait, and he doesn't have that. He's gone. I mean, you guys know what I'm getting at, right? You can get like pissed all you want, but at the end of the day, people have to make very tough decisions. So with this, and this is going to be a little bit Michigan related, but think about your state. So I'm just going to read to you. I'm not going to share the screen because I'm not trying to share this person publicly. They're not a public figure. I'm just going to use their first name. So I got a Facebook message a couple days ago from a lady named Kelly. I'm just going to call her Kelly, just the first name, whatever. Not even saying that's her real name. I get this message and I'm like, Now, you don't know where someone's heading with this, but I'm like, we'll see. So She says, I'm the mother of 5. Now, this was on Wednesday at 3:24 p.m. Certainly a time to start thinking about it a lot more, right? I mean, I'm not shocked. She says, I'm a mother of 5 and increasingly feel the need to open carry. What set of regulations or laws can I look up for transporting a pistol? Now, I thought about that right away, and I'm like, well, hold on a minute. First of all, I'm not a lawyer. I can't give this lady legal advice, and I don't want to give legal advice because, A, I'm not a lawyer. I'd hate to tell her something wrong, like with legal advice, get her in trouble, and, dude, you can't, like, just perpetrate a lawyer when you're not. So I'm kind of like, well, but I could just show her statutes, and I am going to get those together and just send her some of the public acts so she can read them for herself, you know. But I will say Michigan has a whole long litany of provisions and restrictions on how you can transport a pistol. Now, she starts off with this question, but I kind of wanted to have a broader topic. So hopefully you all enjoy this and we can think about this together. So then she continues, everything I've found online says I have to have it in a case in my trunk, but the rule says for firearms other than pistols, so I'm assuming there's another law that I should be referencing. Any help would be appreciated. Now, in Michigan, they've had gun control for like 100 years, and there's 2 main broad sections of law that gun control comes from. And then there's all these other laws that have been promulgated off those 2 original sections of law over nearly 100 years. Now, with that said, she's right. It's in 2 places, so you can think you're reading the gun control laws in Michigan, but you might only be having access to half of them. So my answer to Kelly on that is I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you're right. And this is really convoluted, and we shouldn't have to keep track of any of this. And it's a shame that we have gun control laws, but it's even a further shame, insult to injury. It's the old salt in the wound that even if you're trying to look up the laws, to not, become criminalized, they make it extremely difficult even to find them. So I'm thinking this in my head, but I'm like, hold on a minute though. I don't technically even know what state she's from. So this is just how you think, right? Now later on, I realized I could have clicked on this little thing to the side and it says what town she lives in Michigan. I'm not like a Facebooker or like a lot, so I didn't know that. So at that time, I'm just reading the messages in front of me. Didn't know there was this paying off to the right. Whatever. You guys might be laughing for all you Facebook PhDs. So I'm just like, hello, do you live in Michigan? And if so, do you have a CPL? She comes back. I do live in Michigan. I do not have a CPL. I'm like, okay. And then I said, okay, I'm working cutting grass today. I will send you the law for transporting a pistol later. And then I'm like, but I still want to have a little discussion with her just because I'm kind of like, this topic's pretty germane right now. So I'm like, and I had a few minutes. I was taking like a 20-minute break, right? So I'm like, keep in mind, Michigan considers having a loaded, accessible pistol in a vehicle to be a concealed pistol. So it has to be transported in a certain manner. Now, this is if you want to follow the law, right? She responds back and says, good to know. Okay, thank you so much. I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to go a little bit further with this conversation. So I went on to say, also, although you didn't ask me, because she didn't ask this question at all, but I just wanted to see what somebody other than me had to say about it. Does that make sense? I mean, I have lots of friends out there and people I know who are mothers and maybe not quite mothers of 5. So shout out, Kelly, mother of 5. That's terrific. That's awesome, by the way. I like hearing good stuff like that. 5 more good people for the next generation in this state of Michigan, in this country. Right on. But I'm like, as much as I might have the Second Amendment in common with a mother of 5, other than that, I ain't gotten a lot in common with this chick. Like, we're not going to think exactly alike on these topics, right? So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to feel this out and go just a little bit further. I said, also, although you didn't ask me if open carry or concealed carry is generally a better idea, I do have opinions on that topic as well, especially considering you are a mother. You guys know what I'm saying there, right? Now, look, this is essentially a stranger, okay? I don't know her. I think I like her though. Just our little discourse we had seems like a mother wanting to protect her children when she's out with them, and it sounds like my kind of gal. We could probably be good friends if we met. But other than that, I don't know her at all. And it's one of those weird things where it's like, dude, you're not really even asking me this. However, see, people ask me lots of pointed questions. They're like, just tell me the answer to this. And I don't like to be convoluted, but a lot of times it's kind of like, well, I can't just give you the yes or no answer because there's so many underlying things. Let's just see if we're looking at it from the same premise, and then we can actually kind of maybe answer the easier questions. Does that make sense? So see, I'll give you a real quick example. People often just literally ask me the question, and I understand that. And I'm flattered that you would respect my opinion enough to ask. To literally just say, 2A EDU, what's the best gun? Now look, I see my friend Clover Tech in the chat, okay? He just did a shotgun video like 2 days ago. He puts up so many gun videos. That might be an old video by now. I've been cutting too much grass to keep up with all my friends' videos. But, dude, Clover's reviewed as many guns as anybody. Shout out to the Clover Tech channel, by the way. Who I appreciate you being a channel member, Clover. And I'm also a member over there. And I do encourage you guys to check his channel out. But look, man, it's one of those things where when someone just says, like, what's the best gun? You really can't even come close. First of all, can you truly ever just answer that question? Really, you kind of can't. But you can't even get close until you ask like qualifying questions, okay? So this is one of those cases. Now, I didn't know at that point whether she was going to be like, just screw off. I just literally wanted to know the law. And then in that case, I'd have been like, oh, by all means, I'll probably just call a lawyer because I'm not a lawyer. But what I can do is get into kind of the philosophy behind this, because I've thought about this a lot. So I'm like, well, is she game to want to have a discussion? So what do you guys think? What do you think happened next? She said, screw you. I just wanted to know the exact Michigan laws. And I said, well, call Johnny Cochran and have a nice day. He got OJ off. You'll be good. No, I didn't say that. No, she actually responded back. No, none of that happened. I'm just joking, guys. Come on. So she said, now, I just said, do you have I said, also, you didn't ask me if open or concealed carry is generally a better idea. I just have opinions on this topic. I didn't even tell her what my opinion was. I said, especially considering you're a mother. Now, this implies there's little ones, and with the aid of her Facebook profile picture, I see a nice, beautiful family with plenty of little ones. All right, I have a 13-year-old daughter. I still consider her my baby girl, and I always will, but just like it was yesterday, she was that little one, just kind of, I know a little bit about it, 1/5 as much as she does, I guess, right? So I'm like, all right, let's go there. So she says, that's what everyone keeps saying. It is better to conceal carry. Now, I have no doubt that's what, the colloquial everybody's been telling her, because that's what virtually everybody tells me, actually. And when I say, well, hold on now, I'm not completely in one camp or the other, because I'll just cut to the chase. I'm a bit of both, guys. I'm a bit of both. I'll get to that in 1 second. No, literally, I'm a bit of both for like 3 or 4 different reasons. And it all depends. It's all situational. 2A EDU, how do you carry? It depends. Well, what a crap answer is that? It's like, well, hold on, though. It's just not one of those questions where it's just like 1911 A1 all day, every day, no matter what. Now, I'm a big fan of the 1911 A1 old milsurp stuff. Awesome. But no, dude, that's like just not my answer all day, every day. It's just not like that, What's the best gun? I don't know. It depends. So she says, well, that's what everyone keeps saying. It's better to conceal carry. She says, but, I'm like, hold on a minute. She said, but I feel like having to take a test and be put on a list is a violation of my rights. So I'm immediately kind of nodding my head going, yep, I'm sure everyone's telling you it's just better to conceal carry. And look, there's a lot to that. In many instances, it probably is actually better to conceal carry. However, I'm like, I like this lady because she comes right back. She says, this is a violation of my rights. She has to take a test in Michigan. She has to pay for the CPL class. She has to go and pay on the county level. She has to pay the county like well over $100. You know, you have to like fire so many rounds during this class. That's even more money. Sometimes the instructor includes the ammo. Many times they don't. Sometimes they'll let you borrow a gun. Sometimes they don't. CPL class of Michigan, there's a certain like criteria, but some of the stuff on, do you have to bring your own gun and ammo or not? That depends on the instructor. So there's potentially a multitude of costs, but at the very least, you have to pay to take the class and you have to pay the government. And she believes it's a violation of her rights. And I'm like, absolutely. I completely agree. Now, this is where it is actually a thought-provoking conversation, because I do believe in many instances it's probably quote-unquote better to conceal carry, actually. And I also 100% believe that it is an absolute violation of her natural God-given rights, that she should have to inform the government of how she's carrying and put on a list, have to take a test. It doesn't say the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed if you can pass a test, but I did say it's the right of the people. And this country is supposed to be for civilized people. And if you're an uncivilized thug, psycho, whatever you are, evil, then those people shouldn't be among us, like I said earlier tonight. But for just normal people like you and me and her, yeah, none of this should be the government's business at all. And they should screw off. So I agree. And then she goes, ... But if it's a real danger, then I guess I would ... And this is the epitome of this topic. So she's put in a situation, and all of us are. I've talked about this on the stream several times. Like, guys, I feel like guilty and like a piece of crap American a lot of times that I have a CPL. Like, what? I sit here and preach the right to keep and bear arms, and it shall not be infringed. And I don't accept the premise of any gun control laws at all. And I don't. And I've always been sincere with you guys on that. And I'm 100% sincere. But it seems so hypocritical that I've taken a test. I've registered with the state. I've paid for a permit to conceal carry a gun. Yeah, I struggle with it all the time. I don't know what the answer is. Call me a hypocrite right now, and I couldn't actually blame you. A liar? No, I'm not a liar. I truly believe that it's BS to comply with gun control laws because you shouldn't have to. Yet, I've decided that sometimes I need to conceal carry and transport a pistol in certain ways in this state that's most suited to protecting myself, my family, my community. God forbid, and it'll probably never happen in my lifetime, but up to and including my own country, which is why the Second Amendment was put there to begin with. She's basically saying, I don't want to take a test. I don't want to be put on a list to protect myself. But if it's a real danger, like if there's a good chance I'm going to prison, then I guess I would. And it's like, I guess, so me, like I have a CPL, I guess, but like I literally do. Sound off in the chat right now if you're live in the comments. If you have a better way to put this into words. I know exactly what's going through my head right now, but this topic is hard to put into words. And it sucks. So she says, have there been any documented incidents of people open carrying and it being a dangerous situation? Okay. So what a lot of my friends that are concealed carry no matter what, and they'll actually kind of shun you and give you a hard time if you open carry, they're like, don't do it. It makes you a sitting duck. It makes it where the bad guy's going to instantly prey on you because he sees your gun. Now, look, I think there's a bit of truth to that, but I do think that that is actually a little bit over-exaggerated. Now, again, though, it depends. Are you carrying a gun just kind of like open carry, meaning it's not covered by anything, except for it is allowed to be in a holster in Michigan? Are you carrying it openly? Not in a vehicle, not in like 10 other places, and I'll get to that in a minute, where you're criminalized for doing it without a CPL, but that's besides the point. So, right, it is the point just in a few minutes, if that makes sense. So I'm starting to think to myself, well, it depends. But if you just conceal carry just kind of with like a normal pistol, if you will, whatever that even means, just like a handgun, and it's just kind of on your hip, and you're just walking around like normal, I've actually found, and this is so crazy, maybe some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's hard to believe, except for I've experienced it. Most normies and NPCs just droning around in society actually don't even notice you're carrying it all. I'm serious, actually. It's usually only like this rabidly anti-gun that like wants to scream and yell in public that they're just looking for it. Or someone that's like super pro two gun and they just kind of give the look. And they say you're 2A EDU head. You know what I mean? And you're wearing a GOA goal shirt that's this big, and they're a GOA member too. Those guys, I've seen tons of those guys. We've done it to each other, kind of give each other a head nod, like, hey, bro. Just kind of, you don't even say the words. It's just like, yep, I know we're gun guys. So those people pay attention. Now get the two extreme ends out of there. Most people don't even notice. Now, people have come back and said, but the career criminal type, the predatory type that's out there to draw blood from people and rob them and do all kinds of things. They do notice. They might notice. They might be in the category that notices a little more if you're open carrying or not. I don't know. I don't have that mindset, but that does stand to reason. So what she's asking, because a lot of people are like, dude, don't open carry, sweetheart, because you'll just be a sitting duck and you'll be the first person they all kill. Well, I can say this much. There's a little there to that. And don't think for 1 minute that I'm dismissing that notion summarily. However, I've open carried a good bit. Now, this is a petite lady. I'm a man that's not exactly small. There is a difference, let's face it, obviously. But I've had a few people like yell harassing things to me kind of thing. But I've never had somebody walk up and like want to like whip my butt because I was open carrying. And I've really never noticed anybody notice. And the only couple times they noticed, it was I was at like a 2A rally, open carrying, and there were protesters that were protesting our rally, like Antifa members with their signs and blah, blah. And they noticed and screamed at me. But that's in a very narrow context of I'm at a pro 2A rally, right? And then they're there to like counter protest our protest. You guys have been to these. If not, you've seen them on TV. So that's different, right? Like that doesn't really count. Other than that, one time, literally one time, some lady's like, oh my gosh, he has a gun. And then I'm assuming it was her husband or whoever. He's like, dude, calm down, honey. Like stop. And I couldn't hear much of what I just tried to say, calm down. He's like, shh, shh, shh. I don't know if he explained it to her like it's okay, or maybe it was the opposite. Maybe they both hated guns, and he was like, dude, he's got the gun. Don't piss him off. I don't know what he said. He just kind of gave her the, you know, and kind of with his hands like, whoa. He diffused it in seconds. But that's literally the only time, besides when I was at like a 2A rally, and the whatever you want to call them, Antifas, whatever's that come, the hateful, nasty people that'll like scream and yell at you and spit at you and stuff. And usually there's not that many of them, but you guys know what I'm talking about. They'll notice because they're just there to pick a fight. So first of all, I don't really think that many people notice, to be honest with you. But unfortunately, at least in the state of Michigan and many other states, it's just not that simple. So we will continue. But I am going to read a couple super chats here to thank this evening's sponsors of the channel. What's happening, Yellow Dog? How you doing, man? Thank you for being such a long-time channel member, supporter, and for the super chat tonight. He says, nice to see you, my friend. Hope you and your family are doing well. Well, you too, dude. And hopefully, I've been talking to Pillbox a little bit. Maybe we'll be able to see each other soon, but I haven't completely figured that out yet. So nice to see you, man. Hopefully, I'll see you around. Mike Reese, channel member, and a super chat. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. He says, Michigan and every state should not be infringing on our rights. Absolutely. I agree. Money made our country dead. Any government employee is fired for breaking an oath. Well, that's something we have to think about. Like I said earlier, this guy, he was in and out of the joint 14 times. They let him out faster than he went in. He slashes right to the neck, man. That young, Ukrainian gal, war refugee, people like, there's got to be a way that judge can be held accountable somehow. Like, you would think maybe that judge should share some of the prison sentence. I don't know. I'd have to think about that further, but no, I agree. There needs to be punishment, for some of these people under the color of law who, instead of trying to protect and serve, are making it more dangerous for us. That's like not okay at all, especially when they work for us, when they're working for the taxpayer's dollar. I understand. Wild Times. What's happening, Wild Times? How you doing, man? Nice to see you. Thank you for the super chat. He says 1776. Yeah. 1776, this country was founded, literally started, declared, essentially out of the barrel of a gun. The year before, 1775, Lexington conquered. Yep. Well, now, guns are literally essential for America remaining somewhat free as we still are country. And good people need to be arming themselves. And there are things to think about. Strategy. How are you going to do it? How are you going to protect your family? Can you protect your family if you're in prison? That's what this topic's about. We're going to get back to my conversation with the mother of five here in 1 second. Two-way Warrior 92. What's happening, man? How you doing? Long time no see. What's happening, man? Now, he has a whole military get up on that picture. And I've happened to been out and about with this guy a few times in public. We've met each other before once or twice, right? 2A Warrior 92. Dude, this guy will open carry long gun, short gun, 6 gun, 10 gun. One time I look at him, I'm like, where's 2A Warrior? I can't find him. And then I'm like, whoa, look at that moving gun display over there. You know what I mean? Look at the moving gun display. The guns were moving. Oh, it's him. He was wearing so many guns one day when we were hanging out. You couldn't even hardly see him through the guns. So there you go. No, some people do open carry a lot of guns. And look, we're going to get into that. There are certain times where I definitely like to open carry, and I think it's good, actually. Clover Tack, there he is. What's happening, man? Thank you for the super chat, dude. And I'm going to definitely read this chat after the fact. And if I were to opine, because I'm switching my screen back and forth, reading my Facebook messengers, I have a feeling for some reason you have a lot to say about this topic of how to carry. I think this is something you might have talked about once or twice yourself. 1791. Does anybody know what that year means? So there's 1776. There's 1788. That's the Constitution. In 1789, that's when they draft. That's when they write the Second Amendment Bill of Rights. But it becomes ratified and becomes law in 1791. You guys are quoting some pretty good years there. That's for sure. So I'm back to this again. What's happening, Midwest Logger? How you doing, dude? Ratified. There you go, Red. I knew you'd be right on that. Red's the one that literally sent me, look, guys, this is the Declaration of Independence, literally printed off the original printing press. Yeah. I know a lot of you guys are big fans of the old documents, and man, that's nice paper, Red. You know what I mean? You ordered something from them for yourself, didn't you? I hope you did. There's just something nice about the paper. Feels good, like between your fingers. It's nothing like this paper at all. They don't even make paper like they used to, guys. Just think about that for a minute. Rescue Nut, what's happening, dude? How you doing, man? Thank you for the super chat and for being a channel member. He says, I'm in the same boat, brother. I had to. My CPL, I also value my freedom, but I don't believe in licenses. It's hard to swallow. I know. I know some of you guys are like super smart, and a lot of you guys give me like tons of advice, which I really appreciate. Like, are you guys... Maybe I'll just, when I get the chance to reread all the chat this weekend, you guys will help me figure this out once and for all. It's such a tough pill to swallow. How do you rationalize paying for a permit when you just know it's unconstitutional, but you just know you have to protect yourself and your family, and you just know going to prison for some stupid crap ain't the best idea? How do you figure it out? And look, I've got thick skin. If I'm rationalized being a hypocrite, tell me. Call me whatever the hell you want. Just don't call me late for dinner. Don't do that. Don't even think about it. But other than that, no, I don't know, man. I don't know what the answer is. I'm going to go back here and read the conversation that we had. She says, have there been any documented incidents people owe for carrying it being a dangerous situation? You know, I don't know about that, actually. I actually don't have statistics on that. Generally speaking, I think most people don't even really realize you're doing it. Now, I am thinking about this. And again, she didn't ask me this. This is just me making the conversation more broad so more people can think about it. There may be another mother or not a mother or a dude or look, some of these are universal. Some of these are more specific to her being a mother of 5, but other parts of our conversation have nothing to do with that at all. And they're completely germane to all of us, right? So, like, if she's got little ones around, here's what I would recommend to her, although she did not ask me this question, but this is just to make this a more complete thought. The little ones, that's a topic that I think a lot of people do approach wrong. How little is the first question? If they're so young that they literally pick up just everything and put it in their mouth, yeah, the kid needs to be under your direct custody, and you need to make sure the kid can't get their hands on that gun, because they're literally going to think it's their baby rattle and they're going to shake it and suck on it. Babies shake and suck and chew on everything. That's baby. Now, with everyone, there's a little bit different age, but let's move on to where they're still young, but they start to get old enough where you can now communicate with them other than goo goo gaga and hungry, thirsty, diaper. No, you're starting to have sentences with your child. And then there's a certain point where you just kind of come to the realization there's some comprehension. You're actually having conversations with your child. So a child that's old enough to start having conversations with, and this is just my opinion, there's certain state laws on how you have to approach this. No legal advice. I hate that I have to say this, but in Michigan, there is certain ways the laws are going to approach this. No legal advice. However, I think starting to teach your very young children, and it's not the same age for everybody. I can't tell you it's when they're 3, they're 4, they're 5, they're 6, they're 7. Some 7-year-olds might be more immature than some 5-year-olds. It's just the way life works. But once you know, and that's just part of you being a parent, you have to be in touch with understanding a little bit about your child at least. Hopefully you understand a lot about them. Once you know your kid gets it, once they're able to start actually understanding things, I think it's best to start teaching them about guns, teaching them about gun safety. And that doesn't necessarily mean saying, here, Johnny, here's your first gun. Just go out and start shooting it, and here's how you safely do it. I'm actually not suggesting that right away. But what I am suggesting is you let them know this is the trigger. First things I went over with my daughter: trigger, magazine, barrel, and then bolt. Or with me being more of an 8K guy, she actually kind of learned it as bolt carrier. You know, that kind of thing. Slide. So first things first, you see any gun, don't touch it. It's loaded. They're all loaded. Just look at it. It's loaded. If you see daddy's gun and you touch it, assume that it will destroy and or kill. Literally. I literally mentioned to her like that. I said, however, and we went over it over a period of time, over a couple of years, quite frankly, just different guns. You know, a bolt action's a different operation than an AK, than an AR, than a pistol. But it's like, hold on. If you'd like to see it and you'd like to talk about it, let me know and we'll do it together. And we said, I'm the bat often. I'd say first we have to check to see if there's anything in there. Now we're going to remove the magazine, and I would remove the magazine while she watched. And I'd say, do you see anything in there? And if it was an unloaded magazine, I'd put it right in front of her. She'd look at it. She'd say, no. Okay. Now we need to see if there's anything in the barrel. Now, look, guys, I know how guns work. I know I was technically looking at the chamber, but look, when they're real young, I thought it was best, at least with mine, use general terms. It's the same difference. Now we're going to check the barrel. Now we're checking it from the breech end, not the muzzle. So we're going to open say it was an AK. We're going to open the bolt carrier. I'd hold it back and I'd say, look in there. And I'd tell her, tell me the truth. If you can't see in there, tell me you can't see. Maybe some guns would use a flashlight. We'd look in there. Is there anything in there? Nope. Are you sure? Nope. Okay. Now there's nothing in there. Now we're still not going to point it at anything that we don't intend to destroy, even after that. Now we can look at it. Now we can talk about it. If there's questions. Now, look, you guys all do what you do, okay? I'm not giving you parenting advice. I'm just saying I think it's the best too, because inquiring minds are going to want to know. I think it's good to teach young children, and you decide what age is what. Not a baby, not a baby. There's nothing to teach an infant baby about a gun. You just have to keep track of where your kid is and make sure your gun's not in their crib, if you know what I mean. I mean, obviously, stuff like that, and many other things to consider. So, but no, we could talk about it. And if she wanted to know about it, you know what? She could just ask me about it. And we lay out different rounds of ammunition on the bed, not in the guns. We move the guns aside. We lay out this rug on the bed, and we line up like 22 long rifle, 25, 32, 389. You know what I mean? And she'd help me count them and sort through them and, you know, stuff like that. But she knew even when she was pretty young, like, what happens if you pull the trigger on the gun with ammunition? It goes boom, she'd say. What happens if it goes boom? And I'd like point to something. I'd point to the dresser. It would go through it and destroy it. What happens if it goes boom towards a person? It could kill them. Like she knew right away, these are not toys. But it wasn't taboo, and it wasn't like this weird, like, you shall not look in the closet. No matter what, do not go in the underwear drawer, third row over, and see what's under there. Like, to me, as soon as you tell that to a kid, they're going to do everything they possibly can to look for that gun. And then if they have no clue what the bang switch is, what the trigger is, what happens when a gun goes boom, bang, pow, however you describe it. Sometimes I think with little children, it is effective to use the noise. Boom. Here, let's go out in the backyard. Put on your earmuffs. We did this once too. Put on your earmuffs. Put on your, glasses, all that. Stand behind me with mama. And I go out there with a gallon jug of water when she was real young. I want to say 3 years old. And I grabbed that rifle and boom, and the water just poof. If that was a person, that's what it would do. I mean, that's kind of, she knew better. But here's the crazy part about all of it. Maybe as she gets yet a little bit older, she'll come back. I wish she had more interest in guns now than she really does, to be honest with you. She's not anti-gun. She's not anti-Second Amendment. Nothing to worry about like that. But she just doesn't really want to sit and talk about guns all day. Now, she sat there at a gun show with me for half a day the other day and was perfectly fine with sitting next to him, but she mainly wanted to draw her pictures. And if Clover's still in the stream, he can actually vouch for that. Because when we went to the GOA Goals event, not this summer, we couldn't make it, but the summer before, she did shoot a couple guns that day. She shot a little Barbie AR 9mm and all that. So she'll still shoot herself a gun. Don't mistake what I'm saying here. But she doesn't want to sit and talk guns with me all day. No, she wanted to sit under the pavilion at the GOA Goals Range Day where you can shoot like all these companies' guns as much as you want. And it's like their ammo. And, and she's like, Barbie gun, that's cool. I'll shoot it a little bit. And maybe she shot one other one. I can't even remember that day. Mainly, she's like, no, I'll just sit here and draw my pictures. But you know what she doesn't do? She just grew up with like guns all around her, and she just knew how they worked. And if she ever did have a curiosity, she could ask me about it. We'd talk about it. But it was never like this big, like, oh gosh, I have to like conquer the unknown, or I have to go in there and explore, and I need to know. Look, when I was gone, my wife never caught her touching one, never caught her even thinking about it. Dude, she'll walk past a whole room of guns every day and not even really glance at them, to be honest with you. It's just not that big of a deal to her. So, with all of that said, if the children's normalized around guns, and if they're so small they can't understand, then the parents physically have to keep it out of their hands. Once they start to comprehend, if it's normalized, then that might not be a big issue with the open carry. If the gun's not normalized around the children, that could actually be a concern, in my opinion, for the open carry with the children. What do you guys think about that? And when I say open carry, I'm even talking like in the house. I think they're kind of, and again, I'm not saying you have to take a class to have kids and have guns. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying if she's asking me pros and cons, and she's not even asking me this exact question, but it's just something that's germane to the topic, I could see some potential issues if the kids have not been, I think normalized is the right word, isn't it? Where guns have become normalized, meaning they're a big deal as far as the kids know they're dangerous and don't touch. They're a huge deal when it comes to that, but they're not a big deal insofar as curiosity killed the cat. They're not in there constantly scheming up a plan to go in there and mess around and explore. That's what I mean by normalized. Normalized while still keeping an ultimate respect for them at the forefront. Mike Reese, channel member, and he just gifted 5 2A Edu channel memberships. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it, dude. And it looks like some of you guys just got gifted channel members. So if you got a gift from our friend Mike, make sure you thank him kindly. And I do definitely appreciate you donating to the channel. Scott Williams, what's happening, Scott? How you doing? He says, at the risk of alienating some, I don't have a choice when it comes to permits. When I was younger, I was a hard-headed idiot, if you get my drift. I'm 75 now. I've been a good boy for a long time. No, I get it, dude. Some people have stuff in their record or past. I'm not saying that's necessarily the case with you, but if that's what you're saying, some people just can't get one, even though they've been a good boy for 75 years and whatnot, you know? No, I get it. Kids need gun safety, Cyclops says. Yeah. Yeah. New York Outcast. What's happening, man? You're good when no actually means no in your house. There you go. Then start teaching. Sure. Don't touch guns was my thing. Literally, don't touch guns. But if you want to know about it, we'll sit down together. Which is totally different than don't look, don't touch. Get out of here, kid. Two totally different things. But it was always, you don't touch guns. We're talking little. Like when she was 3, we started to talk about, don't touch guns. I'll show it to you, though. We'll talk about it together. What's up, Amanda? How you doing? She says, both of my nephews know not to touch their aunt's gun case or gun. I always keep it locked up in my case and out of reach for their safety. I currently have them here. Sure. But what we're kind of segueing into here, first of all, that's just a personal choice for every situation. If you know that your kid or your niece or nephew or neighbor, whoever it is that is constantly around your house, in your car, walking around with you, and you know they're just a hellion and they just can't be trusted, you will have to treat that kid different than maybe another kid. It's just the way it is, right? So the open carry with all those kids, it just kind of depends. All right. Just taking a quick peek at some of these chats. We have, hold on a minute, popping up stuff while I'm trying to pin it. Wow, a very generous super chat. What's happening, man? R. Rodriguez with a $50 super sticker. Wow, dude, that's a lot. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it, dude. I wish I could post the actual sticker itself up on the screen. But shout out to my good friend Rob, 2A Patriot. Dude, he's put together a really nice event tomorrow. Make sure, I know all of you guys aren't from Michigan, but I see a lot of you in here that are. So make sure you come and hang out in Fowlerville, Michigan with me and a bunch of other cool people. And check out my post here. And the actual event itself I shared on my Facebook, but I have the flyer on the post section of my YouTube page right here. Wow, very generous of you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it, dude. And I will see you soon, man. See West Michigan here. You're not far from Fowlerville. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow. All right, let me continue on with this conversation here. She says, what is the point? So after she said, has there ever been any documented incidents of people open carrying it being dangerous? I didn't have those stats for, but I imagine there's some, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Now, here's the kicker. When people say, should you conceal or open carry, that actually implies something, doesn't it? That implies it's a handgun. And I don't know why, but for some reason, people immediately they assume you're carrying handguns. Well, maybe. And in some states, maybe that's all you can do because you can't open carry anything. I'm saying legally. Look, criminals, they do whatever the hell they want. Don't forget it. They always do, always will. Right? But what if you want to carry a long gun? Dude, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Don't bring hands to a knife fight either. That poor Ukrainian refugee girl, beautiful young lady, don't even think about sitting there unarmed in a knife fight. Don't bring a knife to a gunfight, and I'll tell you what, don't bring a pistol to a rifle fight. It's not even close. And I don't understand that either. It's kind of like this modern notion, and I say modern kind of euphemistically, but it seems like lately people just debate about what's best for self-defense, and it's only like, is 9 better than 40, than 45? And I'm like, whoa. Like, yeah, but you know what I mean? That's like saying, okay, who's the best Detroit Tigers pitcher for the Toledo Mud Hens? I mean, sure, there's some awesome talent up there, and trust me, a pistol's a force to be reckoned with, obviously. But yeah, like the Toledo Mud Hens, I'm talking baseball for those of you who don't know. Dude, they're like the AAA minor league affiliate of the Detroit Tigers, so they are going to have a best pitcher. And maybe there's a debate who's their best pitcher. 9 versus 40 versus 45, 380, 22 LR. Shout out to all my 22 LR friends. Lots of love to you and all. Tempted, but I'm not going to go there right now with self-defense. But, okay. Why do people skip the big leagues? Dude, a rifle's the big leagues. It's just not even close. The firepower of a rifle compared to a pistol. Well, why would you need? Because sometimes evil, bad, dangerous people do bad, evil things. Well, if you can't take someone down in 5, 10, whatever shots, you need to be better aim. Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. Who said it's one person? Huh? How armed are the other people? Does the other side have pitchforks? Do they have torches? Do they have pitchforks and torches? People get beat with all kinds of inanimate objects. Look, more people are killed every year, according to the FBI, with hands and feet than what the government would like to call a so-called assault rifle. Or actually rifles, period. More people are killed with hands and feet each year in this country than with rifles. See, I don't get it. Why would anybody ever say, to protect myself in all instances, I only conceal? Well, how the hell do you conceal carry a rifle? And how the hell is a pistol always the firepower that you might need for a situation? I have no idea how that could be possible, but somehow it seems like lately that kind of has been the way it is. Well, if you can't hit what you can hit in 6 shots, you need to be... Dude, what if it's 25 people trying to burn my house down and burn my family alive? Is 6 shots all I need? And good luck even with a rifle if there's that many people. However, you might have a chance at least. So what are you carrying, first of all, is what I would ask a lot of people. Who's giving my friend that I'm having a Facebook, messaging correspondence with advice. I don't know what she's planning on carrying. I have no idea, but why is it always assumed it has to be a pistol, actually? You guys ever think about it that way? I don't know. It's an interesting topic because the anti-gunners say, well, that's all you need. But even a lot of so-called pro 2A people, gun people, even a lot of also make comments like, dude, come on now. I mean, look, I've got my Glock 20, 10 millimeter on my hip and all. But dude, what you doing running around town carrying a slung AR-15 or AK? Come on, dude. You don't need to be carrying all that in public. It's like, whoa. How do you know what I need? Maybe I'm doing some two-way activism today, actually, and I want to be real nice to people and help an old lady cross the street and put her groceries in her car and change a flat tire and just show people that I'm a model citizen in the community with an AR or an AK slung, and just to show them, dude, like, good guys carry guns. Maybe that's your goal for the day. And to me, some states you're allowed to do this, some you're not. No legal advice. To me, that might be a terrific thing you want to do. Maybe you listen to the old Hank Jr. song where it said you're only getting mugged if you go downtown. Okay? And you're afraid, dude, when I got to walk to here, out from the black alley, a little something, something about 12 deep might scurry out after me. You know what I'm saying? You know how you flip the lights on? I stayed in this real quick story. I stayed in this Airbnb and we walked into it. As soon as we flipped the light on, you can see the roaches scatter. That's kind of a creepy. Has anyone ever seen that? It's a little bit creepy. Dude, there's some places you're just trying to go to work, or you're just trying to get to the store, or you're just trying to get over there and help feed your elderly grandma, whatever you're trying to do. You walk past a certain alleyway or a certain corner, dude, you watch it, the roaches are just, I mean, so look, when people just say like, well, now I'm pro 2A as anybody. I carry a 45 on my hip, obviously. But what would you need with that rifle? I don't know. Maybe because sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 people do attack you, actually. Though it does actually happen sometimes. Is it probable? I don't know. I have no idea. It depends where you live. But how are you concealed carrying? How are you jocking an AK-47? I prefer to carry my AKM appendix. IWB, just for comfort, of course. So she goes on to say, and this is what I was just talking about, maybe you're doing it just for two-way activism. She says, what's the point of a right if you don't exercise it? Absolutely. I agree. I've talked about that many times. I feel like nobody open carries. I've often felt the same way. Now, it's not that nobody does, but yeah, you could go around your town all day for years and never see anybody. So yeah, I agree. She says, I feel like nobody open carries. Yep. I almost never see it in Michigan, but in other states, it is more normalized. Well, come hang out at 2A days, by the way, tomorrow. Check out my post here if you're watching, Kelly, and you'll see nice people carrying guns and stuff. So you'll see it. Just depends where you go. But you're right, not so much. She says, I'd like to see that here in Michigan more. I'm with her on all this. So I came back and said, it's a tough topic. On one hand, you are correct. It is a violation of your natural God-given right to keep and bear arms, and a license and paying fees is an infringement. To give in to unconstitutional laws is abhorrent. On the other hand, as I often say, ... yet here we are. Trying to survive and defend ourselves under a tyrannical government amidst a dangerous world. Defending ourselves and our family and our country is not only our right, but our duty. You also have duties to your children and to your husband. And if you're dead or in jail, you don't serve these purposes either. That's what I said to her. What do you all think of that? It's our right. It's our duty to keep and bear arms to defend against a tyrannical government. It's also her duty to her children, her husband, and if she's dead or in jail, she's not going to serve those purposes either. And that applies to all of you that are listening here. Now, you may not have 5 children, but fill in the blank is your life matters. You have purpose in this world, don't you? And if you don't, you do, and you do matter. And I hope you can find it. Look, everybody's here for a reason. Some are here for bad reasons. Some are here for good reasons. But me and my friends are here to try to do as much good as we can. But you ain't no good to anybody if you're dead or in jail. You have to bring that up. Said, I often struggle to answer your last question. I really do. This topic may be of interest and help others as well. Maybe I should do a video on this topic. And she said, yeah, true. Yes, a video on that topic would be very interesting. Also, I would be curious about a perspective from a person who does open carry on a regular basis. What kind of experiences do they have? And I don't know if I carry on a regular basis. Like, I probably conceal more often than I don't, because basically all I do is work. And I do respect that people have property rights, so I just concealed carry always and don't tell anybody that doesn't need to know. Whereas if I was carrying a rifle across my chest in a customer's yard, they would have every right, and I'd have no choice but to respect it if they were so inclined to say, get off my lawn, and I'd have to leave and I'd get fired. I won't be able to feed my family. Now, assuming I have a lot of pro-Second Amendment customers, it just wouldn't be safe or make sense to be, look, could you imagine trying to operate hedge trimmers out in front of you with a rifle? Could you imagine trying to sit on a lawnmower where if you had it slung on your back, that's would really do you a lot of damage or gas your seat up, depending which way? You know, I'm thinking of an AK here specifically, the charging handle, all that. You couldn't have it slung in front of you because you've got the two arm bars. I mean, there's just certain equipment I operate and things I do where I can't really be open carrying. It'd actually be stupid and negligent to be open carrying in some instances when in the course of certain work, when operating certain equipment. So there you go. Pretty much all I do is work, so I conceal carry a lot more than I open carry. So, but I did share with her and all of you some of the experiences that I've had. And for the most part, unless you're doing activism and there's counter activists there, nobody but you even is going to notice. It's actually my experience. No one's going to notice. And I said, I do not off the top of my head have any stats on people open carrying getting shot or attacked. I said there are also tactics and strategies. Some are better than others. I'm almost done reading this. She says, I think if anyone who is anti-gun, the most relatable use of a gun is for a mother to carry to protect her children. So she's basically saying she could set a good example for gun owners and maybe normalize it. Where, look, she's not going to change anyone's mind on the far left, and I don't think she's going to really attempt to, right? But she's basically saying to herself, dude, if people see a nice, law-abiding mother such as myself just trying to protect her brood in public and, all of that, she's going to normalize guns and the Second Amendment, be a good example. And I do agree with her on that, actually. For those reasons, it might be an excellent idea for her to open carry sometimes. The most relatable use of guns for a mother to carry to protect her children, especially in this day and age. I feel so vulnerable when I'm a small, petite woman with lots of little kids I have to protect in public. And she's very smart to think of that because she does pose a nice big target with her and hers, She's a small little petite thing, but a nice target of her and hers if there's 5 kids. Yeah, man. So, yeah, she's right to know this. And obviously, she knows that there's evil people among us, so I'm all with her. And that's why I kept talking to this lady, because I think she was smart. And I like talking to smart people. She seems like a good person. I like good people. She says, let's see here. Some are anti-gun, even anti-hunting, but everyone is pro-mother protecting children. At least I would hope. Well, I would hope, but I can't agree with her 100% on that. No, everybody's not that good, darling. They're really not. I mean, look, she has a good head on her shoulders, but this is a chick we're talking about. Chicks are known to kind of give people the benefit of the doubt a little more. So if I may interject, look, I've agreed with her on everything so far. I'm going to disagree with her a touch there. Man, you would hope I do agree with that, but no, man, everybody isn't pro-mother. Everyone isn't pro-children, unfortunately. But that's why you need to carry a gun. So we're on the same page still. So then I go on. I have open carried a good bit as a statement of 2A activism to normalize it, as you said. I'm all for that. The question I have, and this is the important question for all of you to think about. Now, some of you are like, well, we're constitutional carry. Okay. But this still applies to some of you guys even still when it comes to certain things. So the question I have is your primary goal to promote the 2A and stand against these unconstitutional laws, ? Or to protect? Now, I was very pointed the way I asked that. Your primary goal to promote the 2A and stand against these unconstitutional laws or to protect? You shouldn't have to decide between the two. That's why I hate gun control laws. I said, unfortunately, we find ourselves in a situation where both are not always possible at every moment in time. Both are excellent things to do, and someone like you is an excellent ambassador for the 2A. A mother protecting herself while dad is at work is awesome. So she comes back. I want to do both. If I can normalize it in my community, maybe other mothers around where I live would do the same. She says, I don't go far. I don't even like going into big cities anymore like Lansing. I hear you there. I just try to stay away from those areas entirely. And I'm like, yep, I knew she was smart. Look, that's awesome advice. Stay away from trouble. Don't go looking for trouble, or you just might get what you're looking for. Don't ever forget that. Like that old country song says, right? You're only getting mugged if you go downtown. There's some there. But some of you live in downtown and you have to be there. Like, this is where you live, you know. So look, just make sure you're safe. Make sure you're armed. And then, so I'm like, dude, I'm with her. But here's the deal, though, right? This is where this is tough. I said there is a lot to this. Michigan outlaws open carry from non-CPL holders in many common locations, such as Walmart, most gas stations, and many others. Dude, did you know in Michigan, if you don't have a CPL, it's unlawful to open carry for any place that has a license to sell alcohol? Dude, most gas stations sell it now. Walmart sells it now. Meyer, Thrifty Acres, wherever you go, you know. Dude, there's so many places I couldn't even get started. Look, certain polling locations, you don't even know where they are with the ambiguity of it's not voting day anymore. It's voting week, month, sometimes longer than that. Drop boxes, ballot counting places, all of this. Some of these are rather new laws in Michigan that were just passed 2 years ago. Other ones like you cannot open carry. You can't possess a firearms, how it actually reads, without a CPL in these places. Now, CPL holders have another restriction that says something to the effect of you can't be in a place where their primary source of income is alcohol. That's totally different. Non-CPL holder, it no longer has to be their primary source. Just if they have a license to sell alcohol in the state of Michigan, you can't be there at all with a gun, concealed or open. Now, you're criminalized without a CPL to carry it concealed on your person already. But if you try to carry it openly in many of these places, schools, it just goes on and on and on. It could be a parking lot of a strip mall where there's a ballot drop box that you didn't even know was there. Like, it's a web. It's a potential trap. You could find yourself, and these are always felonies every time. Felony, felony, felony. Like, boom, prohibited person the rest of your life, go to jail. Look, they'll let Twan out of jail 14 times so he can go in and do the unthinkable. They ain't going to let a white girl off that easy. Don't think that for 1 minute. So you got to think about all this. Now, in your car, even though it's open, you'd say, I'm open carrying in my car. It's on my hip. It's on my... No. Anywhere in any motorized vehicle. It can be a riding lawnmower in Michigan, just to prove my point. You have to have a CPL if you're on, in, or about that vehicle, unless you're transporting it. No legal advice, but it would basically have to be in a case that's designed to store a gun. So not just a random box I'm talking about a handgun here. It would have to be unloaded and not accessible by anyone in the vehicle. A locked trunk, you're safe. There's gray areas with the pickup truck. Maybe the bed would be fine, but maybe it's raining, but maybe behind the seat, but maybe not. I mean, I don't want to give you guys legal advice here, but there's all these things. You've got a flat tire and you pull off in the Walmart parking lot and she's waiting for AAA to come change it, and the cops come to do a report and they find out somehow or another she has a gun. Oh, ma'am, you're coming with us. No, excuse me, I'm just here. No, you're coming with us. We'll just have CPS come for your kids. Hopefully dad answers the phone, first. And then now you're going to go to jail and possibly prison for a long time. Why? Because you are possessing a pistol on a place with a license to sell alcohol, for example, and there's so many more. So this is where the choice comes into play. Like I said, polling places restrictions. Look, there's restrictions on CPL holders too. It's just a web. Now, there's the other situation where you're going to be arming, disarming yourself, loading, unloading, loading, unloading. So she leaves the house, takes it off her hip, unloads the gun, locks it up in the trunk, unloaded in a box or case that's designed to hold a handgun. It's inaccessible. She's following any and other laws that may or may not be, because I'm not a lawyer. And then she stops to get gas. Dude, a lot of crime happens at gas stations and places like this. Now she's got to scurry out to her trunk. Whoa. That gas station sells alcohol. Criminalized. I know you got to get caught. You got to get caught. I get it. These laws only affect the law-abiding. Criminals don't follow laws. This doesn't apply to the street life that just runs around with their switch and does whatever the heck they want all night long. Those are the only people that actually truly enjoy the Second Amendment. And don't forget it. People like her and me and you, we don't get to enjoy the Second Amendment. Just your thugs, gangbangers, and career criminals get to have it. But for someone like her, okay, so now she's going grocery shopping. So she has to unload, blah, 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 blah. Oh, wait, back to what I just said. They sell alcohol, so she can't there. Now she's going to go for a walk in the park. She's going to go for a walk in the park. All right, now she's got to go to the trunk, open it up. Hopefully nothing happens while she's back there. Load it all up. Holster. Can't ride on a golf cart in the park. No, actually read the Michigan law. You'll see what I mean. Walks around. Then she's got to go back to her trunk. I mean, the amount of setback you're going to get from your ammo alone, I don't know if she or any of you would carry with a round chambered or not, but it's called bullet setback. Look it up. If Mateo's still hanging out in the chat, he'll tell you all about it. A topic most people don't even think about. You know you're not supposed to keep rechambering the same round more than maybe a couple times. There's not a stiff rule to it, but you can't just keep, I mean, you can do what you do, whatever. I'm not your mom, but I'm just trying to give you good advice. Don't keep chambering the same round 365 times and still put that same round back in the chamber. You could wind up with a plus P plus or something. Like, this is a real thing. So there's just concerns with all of this. And it sucks, man. It just sucks. Unload. Load. It's like the Pez dispenser up and down with that magazine. Maybe that's why all my 1911 friends like to open carry. You know, it's a lot easier to thumb 7 of them up and down than it is, 30 or 15 or 20 or whatever. So I get it now. I get it, man. Shout out to the 1911 guys. Hey, look, their thumbs are a little less sore, right? The old Pez dispenser. These are all things I'm talking about to this mother of 5. Because, I'm right with her. You guys know me well enough by now. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Good to meet new friends. But it's like, dude, everything this lady's saying, man. That's why I'm taking the time to have such a long conversation with her. She's literally sitting there being like, this is BS. I have to take a test. I have to pay a fee. I have to do this. Like, what the hell happened to America is what I'm hearing her say, right? Heck yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. But then everything else I just said, it comes into play. I wanted to throw it on the table for her to think about, And then I just came back and said, although you can and should definitely have both goals. Because I agree, both of her goals are awesome, dude. Protect her children and normalize the 2A. Yeah, obviously, I agree. For sure. Because although you can and should definitely have both, only one, though. Only one can be a primary goal. And that's what's so tough. Because look, primary doesn't mean like first and second. No. Primary is your number one goal. Your second goal is your secondary goal. So just by sheer definition, this isn't supposed to be a gotcha. I'm just reminding her, by sheer definition, there can only be one primary goal. So what's your primary goal in each instance? Second Amendment activism or protecting your children? Because this is what a tyrannical government looks like. And when you live in a state with strict, thick, draconian gun control, you can't have your cake and eat it too in all instances. According to the government, and guess what? The government has guns, they have DAs, they have squad cars, they have jails with cells and bars on them. And criminals don't follow the law, and they have their guns and their knives and everything else, don't they? Yep. Everything I said is true all at the same time. So I said, yeah. Although you can and should have both goals, only one can be your primary goal. Unfortunately, you can't have both in Michigan with parity. So you will have to choose which one is your primary goal, because Michigan law makes it where one will cancel out the other in many common occurrences. Right? She says, yeah, I need to learn more about this. So I needed to get back to work, enjoyed talking to her, and then I said, and yeah, staying away from high crime and dangerous areas is very smart. Always trust your instincts on going to certain places and avoiding certain types of people. I agree. She said, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and gave me a smiley face emoji. I said, you're welcome. So that was my conversation about this topic, and lots of thoughts about it. What do you all think about that? What's the answer? For a lot of you, probably the answer's been this whole chat. Well, constitutional carry state. I hear you, man. She doesn't live in one of those, neither do I. And it is a tough pill to swallow. Me and her are on the same page, and I think most of us are too. Unfortunately, it's like, dude, they're both tied for my primary goal. It's like, that doesn't quite work under a tyrannical government, does it? One has to be your primary and one has to be your secondary. Because while you're sitting there standing strong to just shall not be infringed, I shall not comply, somebody with more guns than you will come and take your gun and take you, and good luck with the rest of it, I guess. What's more important, standing up for the Second Amendment at all costs, or just being completely unarmed, or finding yourself? I mean, they hand out felonies so quick for this. This isn't like slaps on the wrist. That's the problem. This isn't like, oh, come on now, here's your $10 fine and don't do it again. They just jump right to felonies when it comes to all of this. I don't like it. Because here's the problem. Yes. Do we need to have laws in this country? Absolutely. I definitely agree with the law that it's illegal to murder, that it's illegal to rob somebody. I completely agree with those laws. And guess what? We already have them, and we've always had them. But criminals don't follow those laws. And making murder illegal didn't get rid of murder. Making burglary or theft or robbery illegal didn't get rid of any of that. And guess what? All gun control laws and any form of disarming people has never actually worked either. They established these gun-free zones. We need to call them what they really are. These are criminal empowerment zones, because it literally tells the criminal, fish in a barrel here, come here, and you won't get any resistance at all in many cases, or maybe very little. As far as I understood, the college campus where they assassinated Kirk couldn't carry a long gun on campus. I don't think the killer cared about following that law. EV3 Dale killing fields. Yeah. Essentially, yeah. It's sad. Mike McClune. Thanks for being a channel member, Mike. You do call it lube tube, don't you? I hope I didn't misquote you earlier, my friend. He says, criminals obey the law about as well as politicians obey their oath. Yes, sir. I agree. So look, how should you guys carry? Look, you do you. There's certain instances where I think you should absolutely carry, if that's what you're into. I think 2A activism's excellent. Dude, I can think of nothing better than a mother of 5 open carrying on her hip. As a role model citizen, normalizing it. Dude, I'm all for it 100%, except for I don't want to see her go to prison. I don't want to see her have to be disarmed in many cases, which in a lot of times are the main places you might want to be armed. Right? That's the balance that you have to figure out. And she will. I don't know if I'll ever talk to her again. I don't know. But if we do, she'll hopefully say, look, here's my new Colt 45. Or maybe she's a cap and ball lady and she's going to have a Remington 1858. I'll say, well, just don't load up all. Make sure you have that hammer down on an empty cylinder. We don't want a chain fire. But look, man, you know, like carry what you got, dude. Run what you brung, you know, if that's what you're into. Sometimes you might feel the need to carry a rifle. Right, Jane? I've seen Jane Locke strutting about downtown Howell with a rifle. You betcha I have. I'm serious. Out in front of the old courthouse. There's been an occasion or two where you've seen Jane Locke. You wouldn't believe it looking at her because she does look so nice. And she's nice looking and she is nice. She is nice, right, Mateo? But no, I've seen her carrying a rifle in town. Yeah. Check out these chats down here. John Crump News. What's happening, dude? How you doing, man? Shout out to my friend John Crump and the John Crump News channel. He says more people are killed by bed sheets than all long guns. Wow. Is that when you factor Epstein in too? What do you guys think? Did Epstein kill himself? I think they said they got himself with the old bed sheet, right? Yeah. We should ban open carry of bed sheets. Just think about that for a minute. That's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start advocating for the old bed sheet ban. Does that sound like a good idea? Thank you, John Crump News. I appreciate it, man. Speaking of John Crump News, hold on a minute. Are these available, John? Now, these might be sold out, but just saying. Black Swan Tactical. Oh, this is a decent open carry rig right here. See? That is a nice piece. Hey, if you can't beat them, join them, right? You guys are going to see me around town with leather around my neck and in one hand, the good book, and in the other, a Black Swan Tactical axe. What do you think? That'd be a good look for a guy like me, wouldn't it? I'm sitting here thinking about, like, well, we could get into this nuance, like 40 versus 10 mil debate or 9 mil. Or I ain't going to get into the 22 LR debate. Sorry, guys, I ain't going to do it. We're not going to go there tonight. I've had too good of a night with y'all than to go there. But, you know, I'm thinking like, man, like AK versus AR. Nah, screw it. I just think I want to walk around with an axe going forward. Maybe animals understand the axe. Defensively. Oh, I think some of them do understand the axe defensively. Colin, what's happening, Colin? How you doing, man? And thank you for the super chat. He says, rest in peace, Charlie, 1993 to 2025. Yeah, man, you just hate to see it. I know some of my viewers were big fans of his. Some were not such big fans, actually. I saw someone earlier on the corner of my eye. I was kind of, reading from some other stuff. If I'm summarizing correctly, he said, man, they didn't like Charlie at all because he got Trump elected and this person can't stand Trump. We've talked about Trump on this channel as much as anybody. We don't approve of any of his gun control BS either. I get it. But here's the thing, man. those two little kids, and it's just sad. It sucks. And I know he did inspire and was looked up to by a lot of people. A lot of young people, they say. They say primarily young people, but here's the thing, man. I'm talking to all kinds of people, all different ages the last couple of days. Just people, period, right? Thank you, Colin. Colin with another super chat. Appreciate it, man. Says, end gun-free zones, armed teachers, end property tax. I agree with all of that. Yeah, taxation's theft. And it sucks in this country because you never really own your own home, because as soon as you default on your taxes, they'll come and take it from you. Now, I believe we work hard and we pay for something and we own it. It should be ours. We can pass it on to our own, not the government. The government should not own us from cradle to grave. Heck yeah. Well, I'm going to jump off in 1 second here. Just want to read a couple chats, and hopefully I'll see some of you tomorrow. Shout out to my friend Red. Are you still in the chat, Red? Red sent me a generous Cash App and said, long live the United States. And that was an hour and a half ago. So in typical customary fashion, I'm going to have to thank him at the beginning of the next stream, because I always miss thanking him in real time. But I do like to thank all of you who financially sponsor the channel, because it's not free to do this, and I don't do ad reads. I ain't shilling for nobody, if you know what I mean. I'm just shilling for you guys. Like, you want to throw me some support? Then I'll shill for all the people. I don't really own a lot of nice axes, but I was showing that one off. I do like that one. Yosef says the Patriot axe is as it sounds, the axe that belongs to the patriot. I agree. I almost had a Freudian slip because I was ripping on the Patriot Act that happened as a result of 9/11. Come on now. Jet fuel, which is basically diesel fuel. It burns the steel girder so much, and there's no reason at all that when the towers went down, it looked like controlled demo. I mean, we could talk for 2 hours about 9/11, couldn't we, guys? I mean, what a thing for me to do, right? Right as I'm signing off here, saying good night to the people, to my friends. At the last minute, I'm like, yeah, did Epstein kill himself? And then at the very end, I'm like, 9/11? You believed everything in the official report on that, didn't you? Didn't you? Didn't you? I mean, that's what it's like, too, right? They're like, hey, man, you believe the 9/11 report, right? And you're like, you believe it, right? And you're like, well, I actually didn't know diesel could mount. You believe it, right? And before you know it, they're like baring teeth, and they're, and then the axe comes out, and you're like, yes, sir. Yes, I believe it. Please spy on my phone calls. Tax me more, daddy. How much is the permit? Thank you. I'll buy 10. I mean, there's been a lot of that in the last 25 years. Patriot Act. Can you believe it, too? If that wasn't enough, they call it the Patriot Act? Like, come on, man. Like, it's bad enough. Dude, you're pissing on me right now. Don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. Like, literally, the most draconian, unpatriotic law that's passed in any of our lifetimes as a result of 9/11, which was yesterday, the anniversary, and they call it the Patriot Act? Wow. Huh. I'm not a George Bush fan. Did you guys know that? I'm not a George Bush fan. No, I'm not a Bill Clinton fan either. Come on, man. You kidding me? Not an Obama fan. Well, hold on, 2AEDU. You said you're not a Bush fan. That must mean that you were an Obama fan. Yeah, whatever. 2AEDU, just because you don't like 22 LR for self-defense, you must like 22 short for self-defense. Not so fast there. What's up, Paul Bennett? He says 22 LR versus 22 away. No, we could, dude, but that's a 2-hour discussion. You know what I mean? That's a, ask Mateo. What do you think of 22 LR for self-defense, Mateo? Now, I mean, this is, you guys thought it was a nuanced topic on the manner in which you should carry. Get into the particulars of the 22s, which is a good conversation, though. I do actually like it a lot. But boy, oh boy, 2 hours, you're just getting started. Like, you get dehydrated arguing about the good old classic 22 short versus the old stick in the eye. Right? And then there's 223. Then there's 223 ultra short. You guys familiar with that one? Or what really gets some of the guys going, the 5.56. The 5.56 ultra short and wimpy. Well, what would that be, 2A EDU? Well, that'd be the 5.7. What? That's fighting words. Hold on a minute. Because here's the crazy part, right? A .223 isn't actually .223. The bullet's actually .224. And then it's not actually 5.56 millimeters. It's actually 5.7 millimeters. And did you know when you buy like a cheap plinking 40 grain 5.7, it's basically like just taking a 40 grain varminting 223 5.56 and just go. I'm serious. Now, there are some really good loadings in 5.7. Can't get them here because we're so patriotic with all of our gun laws. Armor piercing. In other words, the proper ammo that was developed for that caliber. You can't get it in this country. Don't even think about it. Now, look, 5.7's fun to shoot. Shout out to all my 5.7 friends. Dude, you do you. I'm just saying. It is actually 223 super short, though. What's up, Pillbox Bunker? How you doing, man? What's up, Gort? How you doing? Thanks for being a channel member, Gort. And Pillbox, thank you, guys. 22 LR works. Ask Vincent Foster. Oh, wait, you can't. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Now, let me think here. If I saw him going door to door to rape and pillage me and mine, you know what I mean? And I see 10 dudes out in the front yard with an AK, I ain't running out the door with a 22. I'll tell you that. I ain't going to bring a 22 LR into an AR-15 or AK gunfight. I'm just saying. Now, we're talking about for self-defense. And see, that's why, look, I said I'm not going to talk about it. And look, this is how ubiquitous this topic is. But 2A EDU, it'll kill them. The gangrene will set in and they'll be dead in 3 weeks. I don't care, dude. Like, I just want to stop the threat. And then there's the classic. It bounces around like a pinball machine. The one guy said this is how it works. You go for the ear. They're wearing a helmet, but you go for the vent hole in the ear. Do you remember this story, Mateo? And then he says, and it goes in there, and it goes boing, 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 boing. And I'm like, okay. But then it goes boing, 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 but I'm like, what was that? He's like, that's like one of the flippers, the paddles. It's like a pinball machine. So it's bouncing around. And then before you know it, he's sitting there. He's like, dude. And then you hit him in the other ear, and it goes in there, and it sounds something like this. And I'm like, dude, I think I remember that from the 80s, but I can't remember where. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, each noise is the bounce. Like, it plays a song, and as you hit him in the you hit him with the 22, it goes in his head, and and I'm like, what the heck's going on here? I just wanted to stop the threat. I'm like, why so many rounds? He's like, well, it takes a few minutes, but as they bounce around, and I'm like, oh, brother. I mean, that's what I'm telling you guys. This topic gets deep. It gets like real deep. How about it, Lyle Smith? I'm just saying, man. I just believe everything the government says. If you guys want to know my thing, I mean, it's just like, I just believe it. If George Bush said it, I believe it, you know? They attacked us because they hate us for our freedoms. That's all we need to know. Just fully embrace that Patriot Act and you'll be just fine. That's what the government said. Just embrace that Patriot Act and it's all good. I'm just sitting there thinking, what? I don't know. I'm starting to know. I think half this chat carries 22 LR for self-defense. Yeah, man. I think I'm noticing this channel is about to go viral. Next week, we're just going to put right in the chat 22 LR versus everything for self-defense. That might be a good topic, actually. What's up, Wild Times? Thanks for another super chat, man. I appreciate it. Now, hold on a minute. He says the great thermite debate is a good vid for anyone who hasn't seen. Now, the thermite topic could get interesting around midnight if I didn't have the 2A event to go to tomorrow and some lawns to cut to boot. So we're going to have to hold off on the thermite. But, yeah. The great thermite debate. No, that is a classic. I definitely agree. Thanks, Wild Times. Colin L coming back with another super chat. Thanks, Colin. He says AR-10, 12 gauge, and 22 LR is all you need. I agree, except for one thing. I mean, there's different types of ARs out there, and my favorite AR is actually an AK. So I totally agree. An AK and 7.62 NATO /308, yes, sir. I'm like, well, heck yeah, AR-10's the best, as long as it's a AK variant. Your land, Uncle Sam is raising it. I know. Trust me, I'm taking daggers for all of you right now. I was bold enough to get on the internet and say, your land? Yeah. Just ask the Indians about that. Do you guys remember Land O'Lakes? This is where wokeness gets you. Land O'Lakes, just picture what the pound of butter package looked like. Right? They removed the Indian. No, they did. They took it off. Just like Uncle Ben. Hold on a minute. What's this? Does anyone remember this? Aunt Jemima. Aunt Jemima. Wow. We should do a stream in blackface one of these nights just to honor Aunt Jemima. But okay, look. Aunt Jemima, Uncle Ben. Do you remember all this? They took them all off. Land O'Lakes butter. They got rid of the Indian, but they kept the land. It's true. Go look at it in the store. They got rid of the Indian, but they kept the land. And now Pocahontas is in the United States Senate. Right, Harry Grimley? What's happening, man? How you doing, Harry? 182Q KFTW says, sweet. What's happening, man? Oh, it is too. I was sitting there one time walking around town. And I got into my old lady's mascara one day, and guy walks up and he goes, you could be Aunt Jemima's brother. And I said, yes, I said, yes, massa. And then we had some pancakes. Vince Metzger, what's happening, Vince? How you doing, man? You doing all right? I'd like to, DB Cooper, because here's the thing, man. There's that really viral colored guy, comedian. He put on whiteface. And I said, Problem is, though, I probably couldn't do it because mascara has gone up in price a lot. I was looking at it the other day. I mean, I don't normally wear it, just on special occasions when I'm out hanging out with Auntie JJ and all my friends in the hood. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, I get out the old. I get out clear out. I'm like, maybe it's Maybelline, maybe it's all mine. I go into the super Walmart, fill up the whole car. I mean. Be smart, stay apart. Did you guys see my post I made over on the old X? What's up, Rosie A? How you doing, Rosie? Channel member? What's up? Super Mario. Dude, I think that's where that came from, actually. That's been a long time, dude. I was like a kid when that came out. I never even had a Nintendo, but I knew some people down the street that did, so I played it once or twice. Woke tards can rock an anvil. I agree, Jane. I agree. 2A will be selling that on eBay in 20. So me too. No, I mean, I've had this. How many of you guys have been around long enough? You remember when I got this? I know Mateo does. Mike McClune should remember then. If Dale's still hanging around, he might remember. I told you guys too, I'm going to keep her right here. So they say, you're not going to keep her here. I'm like, yeah, dude, I want to. If I had money, I'd have someone like her cooking my food. Chopping the backy and coming in and making me some pancakes. That would be nice. I just can't afford that, so I just keep the syrup. White chocolate pancakes are amazing. I've never had those, Damien. That does sound all right, though, doesn't it? Huh. What's your favorite pancakes, Mateo? What kind of pancakes do you eat? Daisy BB gun, Daryl says. Now that I could get into. I'm going to jump off in 2 seconds, guys. I'm just kind of seeing what the people are up to for a minute. Creamed corn. What's up, Wolf? Channel member. He says creamed corn pancakes. That might be good, actually. Huh. I'd have to think about that. What kind of pancakes do you guys eat in the South? Well, I already know one thing's a given. If you're in the South, it's like twice the sugar in the recipe. You guys ever had sweet tea in the South? I'm not even joking, dude. So here's how it works. If you've never been down there before. So you're like, I'd like an iced tea. And she walks up with this glass. And this huge 5-pound thing of sugar. And I'm like, oh no, unsweetened's fine. And she's like, excuse me? You're in the South, hon. And I'm like, okay. She literally sits there, pulls out this little tea bag and this little thing, like, you know, those little like children's kitchenette thing? Like, that's how big the teapot is. It's got 1 fluid ounce of hot boiling water in it. She puts the tea bag in there for 2 seconds, literally plunks down this 5-pound canister of sugar and goes, psst, and pours 1 ounce of tea into it and says, there you go. There's your sweet tea. And gives me a spoon. No, it's literally like that sweet, though. You get looked at kind of weird, though, when you're like, I'd like an unsweetened tea, please. And they're like, y'all ain't from around here. You're welcome, Harry Grumley. He said, thank you. 2A Edu. Thank you for sharing this with us, sir. Well, you're welcome, man. No, I do like the South a lot. It's just, I don't know how you guys, it's literally, though, like, I'd like a little bit of tea with my sugar. Dude, Mateo used to tell me how he used to make his tea in Kentucky down there. I heard him one day, and I'm sitting there. I'm like, what I thought he was doing, to be honest, is I thought he was basically building himself a sandbox. You know what I mean? You know, he's from the Marines, so he's eaten enough crayons over the years and all this, and he's like, I'm going to make myself a sandbox. And that's what I thought, because I'm just talking to him on the phone for about 2-3 hours, okay? And the whole time, all I hear is, it's hard to imitate with your mouth, but I just hear like granules pouring. I'm like, all right. And I'm like, dude, how's that sandbox coming along? He's like, what the heck are you talking about? I'm like, dude, I've literally heard you pour like a couple 150-pound bags of sand out. He's like, dude, I'm just finishing up my cup of sweet tea for the night. And I'm like, whoa. Yes, sir. Joe Little with the super chat. 18 wheels. Nice avatar, man. Channel member and a super chat. He says, best 5.56 AKs, Estava M90. Hopefully lift the import ban from Serbia. I know. I was talking to people on locals. Make sure you're checking out my locals and X, guys, for good deals on stuff. But I was talking about that whole topic. Here's the problem. It isn't the U.S., as you probably know. I'm just filling everyone else in. It's not the U.S. banning the imports. It's with a lot of pressure, and that's to say the least, a lot of pressure from Russia that Serbia is not exporting arms out of the country. And they've laid a lot of workers off in these different munitions plants, and it's a whole thing. And I don't think they dare do it with the way Russia's pressuring them for allegedly selling arms and ammo to the Ukraine. It's a whole big topic. I do have an M90. The M85 is cool too. You know, the underfolder, and yeah, tons of Yugo variants. I really do enjoy them. And, you know, PPU ammo, Balloon ammo, all of this stuff. And that could be tough for a little while. Hopefully something changes, but Russia is not exactly very happy right now with Serbia. Lots of pressure, to say the least, like minutes away from, yeah, you ship any more ammo or whatever out of your country, we might just have a few tanks roll in your town. That kind of like, not too happy with them. Right, and there is the Beryl, which is short for beryllium, right? The Beryl, the WZ-96, which is not a Yugo firearm, though, but a 5.56 nonetheless. And the one before that, the Polish Tantal, the Tantalum. The two, like, rare metals, actually. And that was their transitional, only made for a couple of years, 5.45 by 39 rifle, in which I do own and enjoy both. And it'd be great if we were streaming on local, so make sure you're following me there. And their sister site, which is green, and it rhymes with fumble. Because if we were over there, I'm not joking, guys. I could literally go over and grab a Yugo M85 right now. I could go grab an M90. These are all, in theory, accessible if we weren't on here. I have a Beryl, a Polish Beryl over there. I have a Tantal. I mean, literally, all of these that we're talking about. But we can't because we're on YouTube and you cannot touch a gun while you're live. Now, hold on, whoever's keyboard warrior in, but 2A EDU, how does Brandon Herrera show guns? Hold on. Listen carefully. You cannot touch or show guns live on YouTube. This is a live stream. Shout out to the replay crew. Love you guys to death. If you look under the video, it will say streamed live like an hour ago, 10 hours ago, a day ago, a week ago, a year ago, depending on when you're watching this. This is crazy I have to say this, so shout out to you all. No, I love my replay crew. But every time I say this, people come and they fight back, and they're like, you lied to AEDU. You are allowed to show guns on here. I just watched the Brandon Herrera video. Ba-derp, 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 ba-derp. But I'm like, why are only stupid people breeding? You know, I think it for 10 seconds. I'm like, stupid people, don't breed. Just stop. Put a little chlorine in your gene pool and pull out whatever you do. Okay, I'm going to be very polite. So I'm like, no, I'm too nice. Don't say that, guys. I don't say anything like that. But I'm like, I'm going to be very polite. And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Just whatever, dude. But I'm serious. On locals and the site that rhymes with fumble that YouTube can't stand. So if you utter its name, they derank your video like crazy in the algorithm. This is an important topic, so maybe I'd like a few people to see this video. But yeah, you can literally touch guns while you're live. Like you can have like viewer requests, but like 5 people will watch that. So, you know. I do like emeralds, Gort. I do like emeralds. They're really pretty. I like emeralds and sapphires. J.O. Wise people. Do not open carry firearms in public. Well, I'm sorry you think I'm so stupid because I carry firearms in public when I want to, when it's appropriate for reasons. And we had a good discussion on this tonight throughout the live stream. So if you want to rewind and watch from the beginning later on, you'll see. I think we had a good discussion about it. I think I was fair to both sides of it. Not really fair because it wasn't like this versus that. It was just kind of like, man, there's different reasons to do different types of carry for different things, you know? And I assume you're not a rifle guy too when people say that, because how do you conceal your rifle? You know, a lot of like I'll just say a lot of like the wisest like gun trainers and people that are like into all that stuff, you know, they'll say, dude, the pistol's just to get to your rifle. But you know, maybe there's ways to conceal the rifle. I don't know. Why do people only carry pistols? I don't know. I mean, it's just kind of, thanks, Wild Times. There's lots of fun streams on locals. Yes, sir. And I'll do another one soon. I am going to an event tomorrow. I'm behind on my work. And I also need to get 2 other videos posted. So I will be over there as soon as I can. Rosie A. Why did I say, oh, I know it's Rosie A. Rosie A. Channel member says, I purchased that JTS semi shotgun on the deal that you sent out, picking it up tomorrow. That was an awesome deal. Thank you. Well, you're welcome. I'm telling you guys, I literally post awesome deals on stuff over at locals, at X. Every deal's not going to be for everyone, obviously, but I just throw them out there because I find some really, really cool stuff. I found with the semi-auto shotguns, Rosie, and anybody else, and it might even tell you this in the manual, they like to be broken in on high brass loads for a little bit, and then they can, you know, pretty much cycle anything, and you have a good time with it. But you might need to use a little bit stouter ammo in the very beginning to break in the spring and all that. What's up, Mateo? Damian Christian, brains with 10 exclamation points. I'm not sure what that's in reference to, but probably something somebody else said, I think. Randy Smith says, great chat as always. Well, thank you, Randy. I appreciate you, dude. Let me see if there's anyone else I didn't say hi to yet today that's hanging out. Hold on a minute. Horsepower greed. I think I breathed in a lot of dust today. It hasn't rained here in a couple of weeks. It rained all summer, like way too much, and now it hasn't rained in 2 weeks. He said, this is so wrong. My chief pancake maker is asleep right now. Right on, man. Good night, Dale, and I will definitely see you tomorrow. And Joe Morris, I got a couple of Zastavas a few years back. Glad I did. Well, good. And I do like the Yugo stuff for sure. M92, yep, that's over there as well. Yugo RPK, I've got a paratrooper Yugo RPK. You don't see those much at all. Like the M72 AB1, don't see them all. I'm kind of into the Yugo stuff. Well, and the AKs, period. I mean, really. Drew in Oregon, French toast with jelly. Nice. All right. Well, I will see you all again soon. Zombie reference. Okay. See, I have to catch up on all this afterwards as I'm reading all this stuff. I hear you, 182. I hear you, man. Had the AR in his truck for 6 to 8 months, a year or so ago, after they declared the month of the old jihad. Yeah. Wasn't going to get roadblocked or trapped, though, sir. Though I hear you. And with that, I will see you all again soon. Thank you, Harry. I hope it's a good day. And high brass loads, Rosie. I don't know. I'll try to find a good deal and post it on locals just so you can look at the pictures and see what I'm talking about. In other words, there's higher brass, meaning a higher powder charge as opposed to just like cheap little bird shot. You know what I'm saying? All right. I will see you all again soon. Good night, Vince, Gort, and everybody else. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.